A little intro or anything? Bassett, unlocked, take one. What inspired the phrase machine gun mindset? So, machine gun mindset is kind of like my main catchphrase, quote, hashtag. It's just kind of something that I live by when I'm wrestling, and it was inspired by my dad when I was much younger. And so when we were younger, growing up wrestling, he would always try to create ways for us to understand the ideas and you know, just I think the tactics that he was trying to put onto our wrestling style. So a scenario that he had for us, that he made up in our minds, was the machine gun mindset. And what it was, when we were younger, we weren't attacking enough. And so he wanted us to attack more, try to score more points. And so he came up with this machine gun mindset. And so the whole entire idea behind it is, if you're going into a fight, right, a gunfight, and you have a machine gun and it's gonna shoot hundreds of times, right? Hundreds of times. And if the other guy has like a pistol that shoots once, right? You have to one-time shot and then reload, right? The guy who's shooting and taking more chances has a better chance, right, of hitting, scoring, and wrestling and getting to your attack. So that was the way that he tried to help relate it to us and help us understand what he meant by machine gun mindset. So it's just attacking absolutely as much as possible, creating as many scoring opportunities as you can, and that's where it all came to be, and that's the idea of machine gun mindset. What are you doing in your free time, if you have free time? So I do. I have a lot of free time, believe it or not. We train really hard, and we do a lot of things, but I definitely have free time. And, you know, I have two brothers back home, so those guys, they take up a lot of my free time just competing in a lot of different things. But I think that having people like that, I'm always hanging out with them, hanging out with my family. My main best friends really are all on my wrestling team, so if I'm going to do things in my free time, normally I'm with them too. I'm a big Steelers fan. I watch a lot of football. I played football when I was younger. Don't play football anymore, but I'm a big Steelers fan. I like to watch college football on the weekends. And then we also, on the weekends that are open, that don't have wrestling or we have nothing going on, we try to get up to our hunting camp. That's in northern Pennsylvania. There's actually no cell service there, so phones don't work, no internet. It's kind of out in the middle of nowhere. It gets you away from, I guess, just the rush of life, and we really like to go up there. It's a hunting camp. You can hunt, you can fish, and we just like to hang out. Again, it gets you away from everything. It's really beautiful, a lot of awesome scenery, mountains, lakes, rivers, and all kinds of stuff like that. So it's a really good place to go with the family. What was the toughest match you've had? This one's pretty tough. I think the toughest match that I've had probably came somewhere along in the training room over the years. I've had a lot of crazy battles, wars in the practice room, you know, against a lot of amazing opponents. But I think as far as in a real match, I had a really good match this year at Super 32 in the finals. Came down to overtime, huge crowd. There was a lot of hype. It was match 3 of a series that I was looking, obviously, to win and win my third of hopefully 4 Super 32 titles. No one's ever won 4, so I hope I can be the first. And we went to overtime. I think the score was 7-7, so it was a high-scoring match, and you know, it was just a really good scramble. Ended up getting the takedown, and there was a lot of hype around that. It was really exciting. Biggest heartbreak. I think biggest heartbreak would be this year at the U20 World Championships, because I was pretty locked in and set on winning gold, and so I went out there really expecting gold. I knew it was a tough weight. There was a few returning world medalists and things, but again, I feel like we don't train to lose, so we were really excited to go out. And you know, I didn't get it done, so I dropped one in the semis against Japan, who's, you know, that's a really good country right now for wrestling. And at that point, it was a heartbreak for there, and I think it was a heartbreak for about an hour or two. And then my dad and I got to talk, and we knew that we had to get the next best thing, and that was a bronze medal. And I feel like I was really proud of the fact that I was able to come back and get that bronze medal the next day, and you know, win a team title for Team USA. So forever team champions, and I think that's pretty awesome and something I won't forget. But I would say for an hour or two there, I was pretty heartbroken because I had just everything was set on winning that world title. But we'll be back the next 2 years, and then we got all of senior level too. So excited about that. What is it like having 2 brothers who also wrestle? I think it's great. I think it's a huge blessing. They're like 2 built-in partners, and they're really good too. So I learned a lot from them. I think that they're awesome, you know, support. I really appreciate both of them, and I hope that they're better than me, because that's always the goal. What would you say to a younger version of yourself? I could say a lot of things, but I think that one of the most important things that I would say to myself is to have fun and be confident. Those 2 things are really important. I think just having fun, enjoying every opportunity, every step of the way is something that I think I did pretty well, but you can never really do that enough, really enjoy the moment enough. So I think slowing down and enjoying every single second of everything you're doing is really important. And then the other thing is just be grateful and make sure you're, making the most of every opportunity. Growing up, there's a lot of opportunities that you might not make the most of, and the more opportunities you make the most of, the more you're going to get out of it, and the least amount of regrets you're going to have. So for me, I want to leave no regrets, and I think it would just be being grateful and making the most of those opportunities. What is your favorite quote? I've been using this one lately. I've been really liking this quote. My quote is, work as hard as you can as if everything depends on you, and pray as hard as you can as if everything depends on God. So, it's on you 100%. You got to make sure you're putting the work in and what we call row the boat, but it's also on the Lord and your faith, and He's going to, give you the direction. And so I think that that's what it means to me, and it's one of those things. I'm second. Have you ever played any other sports? Growing up, I played a couple. I did gymnastics, did jiu-jitsu, did like some MMA type stuff, just to really complement the wrestling and help me get into, contact and physical sports. I played football as well when I was younger. So that was all the way up until about middle school, and then we went all in on wrestling. So for the past 5-6 years now, I've just been strictly wrestling. I think that those other sports are important, but now it's time to roll. What is your favorite subject in school? Do you know what you want to study in college? Yeah, my favorite subject in school is probably math. I really like math. I always have. I think it just, one of my math teachers, he's the man. He said one time that math isn't like, knowing facts or, memorizing formulas or whatever, but it's like just the ability to train your mind. So I always like doing that and being able to think, and that's just a class that I like because it's pretty challenging. But I would say as far as what I want to study in college, if I could, I'd want to study wrestling, but I think that I'll settle for studying business, and if I'm doing something I love the rest of my life, I feel like I wouldn't work a day in my life, so that's kind of like my goal. No specific job, just do something that you love. Have you ever been starstruck? Yeah, a lot when I was growing up. Seeing some of my role models, I've had a lot of great opportunities when I was younger to see a lot of guys that I looked up to growing up. So at different camps, or I would go to like matches, duels, or big tournaments, and I would be able to see guys. But I'll throw a shout out to a fellow RUDIS wrestler, Spencer Lee. I was starstruck when I would see him at events and at places. And obviously now he's doing amazing things. He lit up college wrestling and he got Olympic silver. And yeah, he's been a big just inspiration for me, and I got to train with him a couple weeks ago and at the Olympic Training Center a few months ago, and he's an awesome person, but I've always been starstruck when I was younger, going to see him and learn from him. So those type of people, your role models, are who you're starstruck by. What's the hardest thing about being a wrestler? I think the hardest thing about being a wrestler sometimes is people don't really understand what it's like to be a wrestler, especially when you're like really dedicated to your sport, really locked in on what you're doing. A lot of people don't get it. They don't understand why you can't do what normal people do, or why you're sacrificing, or just why you're different in general. And sometimes it's tough for people to understand that, but I wouldn't trade it for the world where I'm at as far as where wrestling's been able to take me. And I think that I'm getting experiences that I would never have if I didn't wrestle. So the hardest part about being a wrestler is trying to help, make other people understand what you're going through, but I absolutely love it. So I like this one. What's your favorite cereal? I've got a lot of favorite cereals. I think the best cereal is Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I like Fruity Pebbles. I like Lucky Charms. I like all those. Captain Crunch. I like a lot of cereals, but I would have to say Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I used to eat a lot of cereal, and now I'm like a little bit more locked in on my diet and things, so I don't eat cereal as much anymore. We don't have it in the house, because if it's in the house, we're gonna eat it. So we don't try to bring it around too much, but Cinnamon Toast Crunch when the time comes. I like this one. What's your spirit animal? I didn't even know that was a thing until like a couple months ago, and someone asked me that, and I had no clue what to say, but I've thought about it since then, and I actually got a tattoo since then. and there's a lion on it, so I would like to say a lion. They're the king of the jungle, so I like lions, and we always think about chasing lions in life, and so that's something that I always think about, and again, the lions, we try to have the same mindset as they do. So do you have any pre-match rituals? Yeah, I actually have a couple. So like before the match, we have this thing called a performance statement. So it's something that I always say in my mind. Mine is hard, smart, takedown, turn. right? So it's kind of like just a couple words there, but they all have a big meaning. Hard, smart, takedown, turn. I think that's something that I'm telling myself. I always try to remind myself of the work that I put in before my match, and I always cross over. So I touch my opposite shoulders, opposite knees, and then opposite shoes down at the mat. So I think that that's something that I always do, and again, I always pray before my match. So those are some of the rituals that I do. Favorite cheat meal? Really like donuts. I used to, let's say if I won the tournament and I got like all bonus points, I would normally like get a donut. But it's switched more now. I like milkshakes. So milkshakes and donuts, and my favorite food's pizza. So those things there are my favorite for sure. Are you reading anything right now? Not a big reader, gotta be honest. I know there's a lot of value in it. I know that it's really important to read. My dad's a big reader, so he'll normally read, and he gives us a little bit about what he learned, and so I kind of get secondhand reading. I read Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. I really liked that one, but it took me really long to read it just because it's tough for me to sit down and read. So, what is one piece of advice you would give to someone who's just starting to wrestle? Well, I think that the biggest thing is if you really want to go far in wrestling and you know, achieve your goals and do some of the highest things in the sport, you got to make sure that you love the sport. Wrestling's one of those sports, if you don't love it, it's a lot harder than you can even imagine. So if you love it, it definitely takes a lot of that away, and you start to realize that that's what you love to do. So I would think that the first thing is you got to make sure that you love it, and then after that, you got to surround yourself with the best possible people that you can. Right, and get yourself in good opportunities, get yourself in places that are doing the things that you want to do, or on that path, right? And you have the same mindset as them. And I think you just have to work absolutely as hard as you can. Thank you.